Memrish. Okay, great.
So this week's Parsha, Parshat Emor, picks up really on the heels of the last Torah portions, not just thematically, but also philosophically or conceptually. Let me explain. Last week's Torah portion, or the last series of the Torah portions, talked about Achrei Mot, was the discussion that uh, uh, the holiest man on the holiest day in the holiest place. And it talked about holiness as being this kind of ideal that is really kind of above and beyond uh, the average individual or the average circumstance or situation. You do not belong in the Holy of Holies on any day. You do not belong in the Holy of Holies if you're not the Kohen. You didn't, and so we talked about holiness as this incredibly high and lofty standard. We then followed it up with Parshat Kedoshim. Parshat Kedoshim, which makes the point Kedoshim to you, that holiness is not something, don't mistake the point of last week's Torah portion, that holiness is something that is only for the rarefied few, for the elite, something that is only for the Kohen, and not just the Kohen, but the Kohen Gadol, and is something that is really not attainable for the average individual. That is not true, and to a certain degree, everybody has a responsibility to not assume such and to assume that holiness is beyond them. Rather, Kedoshim to you, Daber al kol adat b'nei Israel, speak to every last man, woman, and child of the Jewish people. Every last one of them has to understand that they have to be holy. Ki kadosh ani. Say, wait a minute, how is it that in fact I can be holy? Who says that it is within my ability to be so? And the answer to that is Ki kadosh ani, because I am holy, says God, and a piece of me is in every last one of you. Every last one of you have a soul, and that soul is a chelek elokam imal, is a piece of God himself. And so if I am holy, you can be holy. And if you can be holy, then you have to be holy. You have the responsibility to be so. Otherwise, you are selling yourself short. You are not living to your potential. From here, we flow into this week's Torah portion. And this week's Torah portion, you can title, What Does Perfection Look Like? This week's Torah portion primarily talks about the fact that those that are in the service of God, i.e. the Kohanim, need to be perfect. They are not allowed to have any blemish. They are not allowed to have mismatched organs. They are not allowed to have any blemish in their eyes, in their extremities, in their internal.
You can't go to funerals, right?
Oh, well, one second. First of all, that, and then it also talks about maintaining a spiritual perfection. You're not allowed to become impure. If they are becoming impure, they during that time are not allowed to serve. So we see that there is a demand for perfection. This does not only apply to the Kohanim, who are the ones performing the service, but all elements within the service need to have perfection, including the offerings. The animals brought onto the altar also need to be perfect, right? They need to be without blemish, without any illness that is not a passing illness, not an illness that they can recover from, right? If it's a mortal illness, they are not fit. And we know that this ended up becoming a real disaster because there was a man named Bar Kamsa who had nefarious intent, right? The famous story of Tisha B'Av, we talked about it, about a man who was mistakenly invited to a party, was meant to go to Kamsa, not to Bar Kamsa. Bar Kamsa was the mortal enemy of this particular fellow. The fellow, when he saw Bar Kamsa come in to the party, threw him out, even though he begged and said, please, I will pay for my meal. I will pay for the meal of everybody around my table. I will pay for the entire event. Just please don't embarrass me in this way. the host threw him out on his ear, and he decided to take revenge not only against the host, not only against the rabbis who were there and did not come to his defense, but against the entire Jewish people by going and slandering the Jewish people to the Roman emperor by saying that they would not accept an offering brought by the emperor because they are in the process of rebelling against you. When the emperor put it to the test, Bar Kamsa was bringing up the offering and he put a blemish onto the offering, and the offering was therefore rejected from the altar. He came back to show as a proof that they rejected his offering, not because of the blemish, because again, Bar Kamsa put the blemish surreptitiously on this animal. The emperor did not know that that the animal had been sabotaged on its way. He just said it has been rejected because they hate you. And so began the process that eventually led to the Roman conquering and destruction of the temple. Famous story to show about Sinat Chinam, how senseless hate can lead to the destruction of the temple. But again, the point being that even if it comes from the emperor, even if it potentially could spell devastating consequence, as the Jews knew, no doubt, that if this animal would go back, if the emperor would hear that this animal has been, his offering has been rejected, there was going to be consequence. And yet, a hard rule that if an animal has a blemish, it cannot be offered up onto the altar. And that's it. That's that. So we get a general sense that when it comes to the Beit HaMikdash, perfection is demanded. Now, again, the Torah is an instruction manual in all times and in all places. That means that we are not just hearing a lesson about what would historically occur in the days of the temple, that the Kohen needed to be perfect, both physically and spiritually, and the offerings needed to be perfect. And it's a nice historical fact and a nice, interesting anecdote, but really not relevant to today that we don't have a temple, but rather, as everything in the Torah, there is obviously relevancy to us because we continue to be in the service of God. And even though we don't have a temple, in our service, we emulate this service as it was done in its truest form in the temple. So even though we substitute much of the process of service, it still is a service of God, and in the best, in whichever way possible, we try to emulate it as correctly as we can. So what do we learn from this parsha? We learn from this Torah portion that perfection is demanded, which we can immediately respond, well, nobody's perfect, right? To which the Torah says, yes, and if that is your excuse to not strive for perfection, that is a cop-out. One must strive for perfection in service of God. This is in and of itself a very important point. We have to respect the relationship. Oftentimes, we get a sense that because God loves us and because we love God, then we can kind of do whatever we want. Because God understands. Because God loves us, He cares about us, He's flexible that way. Yes, but to know this and therefore to approach the service with that sense in mind is to take advantage of the relationship. And that is unfair and honestly uncouth and basically wrong. In general, we believe most people in today's society have a very erroneous understanding of a loving relationship. And because of that, that is why most relationships fail. In the secular world, over 50% of marriages end in divorce. And that is after many boyfriends and girlfriends and breakups and really, that means even the one that you've picked, right? After all the trials and failures, the one that you've picked as the one that's going to work, even that one's going to end up in failure. So if you think about it, if you take all of it into consideration, then it's not only 50% failure. We're talking about 80% failure, 90%. Why is it that we are so bad, society is so bad at relationships? What, they just, we're just unloving or are unlovable? What is a big contributor? I'm not going to say it's the contributing factor. It's not necessarily the biggest, but it definitely is a big one. And Manas Friedman is on about this a lot.
I
But
was just going to say Manas Friedman. I
right,
was just going to quote, but you go ahead.
yes,
What did you say? I didn't hear it. The word.
Manas
Manas-
Friedman.
Manas Friedman, who is one of Chabad's all-star lecturers, philosophers, etc.
I was supposed to be with him this weekend, by the way, but
Oh yeah,
I decided at the last minute not to go because my friend didn't want to go. He's doing a weekend in Utah.
he's doing it. We could,
Yeah.
very Jewish place.
Yeah. It's going to be great, though. I'm sorry I didn't go.
Yeah. Well, next opportunity, it'll only make you desire it even more next time. But here's the thing that Torah says, Tanya articulates, and would be so important to remind everybody or teach for the first time. A loving relationship does not begin with love.
Right. He said a couple comes to him and says, we're in love, we want to get married. He says, it's too late.
Right. Now, you see, Manas can say these kind of things. I'm not going to go that far. But Judaism says a loving relationship does not begin with love. It begins with awe, i.e., it begins with, you don't start with Avat Hashem, you start with Yirat Hashem. You don't begin with love, you begin with respect, with awe. Because if you begin with love, then invariably you'll start taking advantage of each other. You're not focused on what that person is, you're focused on you. What the relationship does for you, how it makes you feel. You're not looking really beyond yourself, you're looking at yourself, and you are most enhanced with that person. So both of you are approaching each other like a glorified ATM. What can I draw out of you to make me better? To begin the relationship needs to start on who is, I think, and if so, then you see, I will burnish my bona fides of my down-to-earth bona fides. I believe it's Aretha Franklin who says RESPECT. Right?
Yeah,
Is that correct? Did I get it?
Yeah.
Yes. But
But why don't you think of it as the person's going to make you more whole? He has things or they have things that
because
you don't have.
Because it's a thing.
then it's still about you.
Right.
Well, it's not
It's
about-
still about you.
How many times have I asked you to read the book, The Joy of Intimacy, Diane?
Yeah, I have that. The joy of it.
And it doesn't mean
She
it won't
has
fail.
it.
She owns it. It's on the. But
She sleeps on it.
but the point is that a lasting relationship has to be bigger than you. It has to be about more than just you. Because if it's really just about you, then this person really is secondary in this relationship. The one you're really having a relationship is with yourself. And this person contributes to that relationship. This person completes you, but it's all about you. Really, the one you're having a relationship is with yourself. This person is a necessary factor. A true relationship is where it's not about you. It doesn't begin and end with you. It may begin with you, but it ends with them, with us, with it's beyond you. And that starts with respect, where it's not about me. It's all about that one. It's all about that person. Where I've come to realize what makes this person beyond me, beyond what this person does for me, beyond what this person does for me, what this person is in and of themselves, I have to be able to see that person in that light, not just what this person does for me, because then ultimately I am remaining self-centered in this relationship. And if you remain self-centered and that person remains self-centered and your significant other remains self-centered, then you remain two separate, distinct entities that are collaborating to each fulfill each other. But all you're doing is that you have decided it is advantageous to be engaged in this relationship, in this business contract. If I have the ability to truly respect that person, that is the stepping stone. Because I'm respecting this person, not because of what they do for me, because of who they are in and of themselves. If your relationship with God is, God, I'm not really going to move, I'm not really going to change, or I'm really not going to climb out of my comfort zone, and you're going to meet me wherever I am and enhance my life and enhance my space, then you are basically saying, because I love you, God, and because you love me. A true relationship with God will demand of you to refine yourself, demand of you to elevate yourself, demand of you to strive for perfection, to be worthy of this relationship. You are respecting God and respecting this relationship. And so who you are is never good enough. You're constantly pushing yourself for perfection. This is a very important and necessary aspect of the relationship you have with God. Does this relationship with God constantly demand of you to go, to do more, to achieve more, to strive for that perfection? I want to always be better, to be deserving and worthy of you. This is what we each work to. This is what the relationship we have with God is. This is, in a sense, the next step, Kedoshim, to you, and never be satisfied. Never feel you've achieved it. Oh, I've plateaued. Are you perfect yet? No, I'm not perfect, but nobody's perfect. Wait a minute, is that your cop-out? Or is that your call to further action? Is the fact that you are not perfect the reason why you're going to stop where you are, and you therefore are demanding God to meet you where you're at? Or are you going to constantly push to be better and try to meet God where he's at? Are you ever going to achieve it? No, you're not.
Right.
Not a problem. As Pirkei Avot sums it up, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. It's not on you to get the job done. But the lo ata ben chorin li batel mimenu, but you're not either free to then waste your time, desist from the work. Rather, the sense is, this would be the difference. If I just love somebody without respect, then to a certain degree, what I am saying is, I love the way they make me feel. I stand pat, and you are going to complete me. Rather, when you begin with a sense of respect and awe, then to a certain degree, you're saying, I am going to meet you. I'm not looking for somebody to complete me. I am looking to change myself to be more in line with you. And this is what we are working on for these 49 days. I could say, what am I doing? This is an exercise in futility. Am I really going to refine every last one of my character traits? So the answer is no. And therefore what? Therefore I don't? No, therefore I try. Therefore I try. I may not finish it, but I definitely am going to try. And I'm going to keep on trying, and I'm going to keep on working on myself because God deserves it. Because God has engaged in a loving relationship with me. And what this calls out for me is not complacency, it's the opposite. I respect God so much that when he is willing to get into a relationship with me, it invokes within me an incredible desire to do my best to be worthy of this relationship, to be as perfect as I possibly could be. And think about it. These Kohanim, right? Were they really perfect when they fulfilled the requirements of perfection? They weren't perfect. If somebody held the microscope, I'm sure they would find the blemish on the microscopic level.
That's what I was about to say. I
Right.
mean, you know, what you can see with the naked eye.
Right. What is God saying? God is saying, strive for your perfection, for the perfection that you can achieve. And I'll accept that, but work towards perfection. Don't say, oh, I'm never going to be perfect. And so, God, if you love me, you're just going to accept me as I am. You hear people all the time, right? They say, oh, my spouse, the reason why this works is because they accept me for who I am. Right? No, that's the relationship you have with your parents. The relationship you have with your spouse should invoke, my spouse, I'm always striving to be better, to deserve and earn. I am so in awe and I have such a respect for them that the sense I always feel like I need to be working to earn the relationship, not because they're demanding it of me, not because they say, not because they're being ambivalent until I reach that perfection, no, but because just the very nature, I have such a deep respect and I feel so awed to be in the relationship that it invokes with me a constant sense of saying, this person deserves me to, deserves that I should constantly work on myself to be better and better and better. They don't deserve me in this place. They deserve me at my best. They deserve me at my best. They deserve me at my most perfect. That's a healthy relationship. A relationship where I am constantly trying to refine myself to be worthy of my significant other. That's a healthy relationship. That's a relationship predicated on an incredible sense of respect and awe, in fact, awe. And yes, maybe they do accept you wherever you're at, because that's their reciprocation. But does that mean, again, that you use that, do you take advantage of that?
Take it for granted.
And take them for granted and therefore say, okay, so if that's the case, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone. Then again, you're not really loving them, you're loving yourself. Because they deserve more, and you're saying, yeah, but it comes at too much of an effort, so I'm just going to stand pat and expect them to meet me wherever I am. And maybe they will, but is that fair? Is that healthy? No, the answer is no, it's not fair and it's not healthy. And if you can't respect your significant other enough to feel that, if you can say, you know what, I maybe would feel that, but not to this person, then right there is the indication that you've got a real problem here. And maybe this person is not the right person for you, or you are not investing enough contemplation into the relationship to find out why this person in fact does deserve this. Or maybe it's not front and center on your mind anymore. Maybe once upon a time it was. Many people are trying to bring the spice back into the relationship, right? The spice. How about bringing the respect back into the relationship, the awe? Instead of figuring out how you can spice up the bedroom, why don't you figure out how you can spice up the living room? The time that you sit and get into conversation. Don't worry about the love. That's usually not the problem. The love is this is Manis Friedman's line. He says, and I want you to appreciate this, love is not important. He drops that, right? Bombshell. I remember he did this, there was the retreat, big JLI retreat, thousands of people, lectures after lectures after lectures by all the great all-stars in the Jewish world. And it's Monday lunchtime, right? This is the end of the retreat. Everybody's leaving after lunch. This is the hardest slot. It's a meal. Everybody's busy on the food, and everybody's already has their mind out, and their brains already have been fried from all the lectures that they've been hearing. So it's the worst time slot of the thing. So of course, the only one who is brave enough to take it is Manis Friedman. So Manis, where everybody's clinking away, everybody's in the dining hall, clinking, eating, talking, schmoozing. He gets up there. Nobody's planning on listening. Everybody's planning on talking. That's just the way it is. No disrespect, but Manis, he picked a bad time slot, right? So how does he get everybody's attention? takes the mic and says, ladies and gentlemen, love is not important. Pause, period, full stop. Immediately,
Rabbi, I didn't
But-
hear. He said, love is not what?
love is not important.
Okay.
Immediately, the dining room goes silent. I went, huh? Right? He says, yes, it's just what I said. Love is not important. Rather, if you love if something is important to you, then you will automatically love it. Because that's the way a healthy person, a healthy human being. If you're a mentally healthy human being, mentally and emotionally healthy human being, then when you've defined something as important to you, you love it. The more important, the more you love it. Love is a reaction to the things that you have decided and deemed important. And the most loving relationship is with the thing that is the most important. And so this parsha says, cultivate that sense of the importance of your relationship with God. It demands of your perfection, your best, your very best. Don't you dare walk into the Oval Office without a tie on. Don't you dare walk into the Ritz-Carlton without a tie on. Don't you dare walk into the Holy Temple when you are not at your best. Respect the relationship enough that it demands of you your best, that you demand of you your best. We are in a society today that says that is verboten. You're not allowed to say that to anybody. You're not allowed to say, I expect the best from you. You have to accept, right? Give everybody a trophy and accept everybody where they are and whatever it is. No, I respect you too much to settle for your mediocrity. I expect the best from you. I will accept you even if you're not at your best, but I expect the best. And we have to expect the best from ourselves. If this relationship is important enough, then I need to give it my best. I need to constantly be striving. And what I did today is not enough for tomorrow, because I can do better. I achieve whatever I believe is my pinnacle, and then I'm at my pinnacle. I'm like, wait a minute, I can do more. And if I can do more, then this relationship demands of me more. That's the Omer count. I don't start with 49 and count down. I start with 1 and count up. Today, I did 1. Tomorrow is going to be another 1. It's going to be demonstrably more than today was. That's what this relationship with Hashem demands of you. Your strive for perfection. Yes, Carrie.
And also the idea of what you're striving for is to like the idea of giving somebody a gift that they would want, like that Hashem asks us to do it in this particular way, and that we can't go and to the Holy of Holies and do it Hashem's way. Like, I mean our way. That's part of love. Not love. I mean, whatever commitment.
Right. Correct. You don't buy your wife a power tool.
Oh, I've gotten some.
Right.
Oh, Diana.
Funny. Okay, so can I
And
tell
Diane, you
tiny?
said that with such incredible joy and gratitude that I think you've made our point.
I used to belong to a crazy synagogue that they had all the kids planting a garden on Shabbat. That was the kids' activity. They would all plant a garden. The theory was God would want that because we're going to give everything that we grow to the poor. I thought it was so dafka, like it was just so offensive to me. Dafka that they had to pick to do so that the kids were plowing the fields
Exactly.
on Shabbat, right at the synagogue.
No, and
I know that shul.
So let's not name it because this is being recorded and
Let's not name it.
No, but suffice it to say, the bottom line is, yes, God demands you to be better than you are right now. Sure, God accepts you, but that's not the beauty of the relationship. The beauty of the relationship is that actually God expects more from you. and that you in this relationship are driven to do better. That is an incredibly powerful and necessary message for today in relationships, in your peers, relationships with society. Society has the right to demand the best from you. And a relationship has the right to demand, and a healthy relationship does demand the best from you. They can accept you even if you fail, but what do they demand and what do they expect? Your best. And that's what the Parsha is trying to tell us. Each one of you in your service of God, when you are putting on your Kohen persona, you need to be as perfect as you can be. That is demanded of you in this moment. Not just because God is a megalomaniacal dictator, because this relationship that is built on an incredible sense of awe and respect for the infinite King of Kings that wants to be in relationship with you demands of you to do your best to meet God where he is in perfection. Or else you're not really respecting God. And if you're not respecting God, then you're not really loving him. All right, everybody, I do have
Thank
to
you,
run.
Rabbi.
Thank you.
Great.
Sorry for
Thank
being
you,
late.
Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Have an amazing holiday there.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Lots of wonderful stuff coming down the pike. Lag Bomer, JLI this Tuesday night.
Okay,
right.
do I get my book or no?
God willing, we'll see. I hope it was sent out today. I hope it arrives in time.
Thank
Or either that, or
you.
you can go down to 32323 COSO and pick up the book that's going to be there in their mailbox. All right.
Go knock on the door.
Yes, yes.
That's like 2 houses away from.
So you should. I mean, worst comes to worst, if it hasn't arrived, literally, I would tell you to do that because it's going to arrive there. I just kind of wrote that off
Right.
as well. Just,
Okay.
you know.
Okay,
people-
put my address in your records. You never know when you might need it again.
Yes, yes. Well, we're going to keep it in there. But either way, I think it's totally normal for people who recently moved to knock and say, hi, I probably got a piece of mail. You know, do you mind? Whatever it is. And then you can say, you can have it back after this class. I'll let you read it, but I need it for All right, everybody, all the best.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom.
Eat drugs.
Bye, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Toda raba.
Gotcha.